Salvete discipuli. In today's lesson, an increasingly desperate Salvius is going to have to decide what he will do in the wake of Quintus testifying against him, and while he awaits learning what his fate will be when a decision comes in the court. Interia Rufilla salvii uxor, dum spes eius firma manebat, pollicebatur se sociam eius fortunae futurum esse. Meanwhile, Rufilla, the wife of Salvius, genitive singular, while, and the subject is going to be spes firma, eius being the genitive singular of both masculine, feminine, and neuter of the demonstrative is ea id, and so the subject, while her firm hope manebat, was remaining. Pollicebatur, was promising. Now this is going to trigger an indirect statement, okay? This is a deponent verb. Again, it's a passive ending, but because it's deponent, we're translating it actively. She was promising that say. Now, say means himself, herself, themselves. In an indirect statement, pollicebatur here, she was promising that she, okay? So the verb is this infinitive esse, to be, plus the future participle, which in this case is indeed the future participle of the verb to be, from which we get the English word future, okay? So she was promising that she would be, here's what she was promising that she would be, a sociam, a companion. A companion of what? She was promising that she would be a companion of his fortune. Now, what this means is she had told him, while things looked okay, while she still had hope that maybe he was going to get out of this problem, she was promising that she was going to be with him through thick and thin. She was going to be with him no matter what. But the reality is, she was only promising that while her firm hope was remaining, okay? We're about to see that once she no longer has a spes firma, things are about to change, people. Tandem salvium deserere constituit. Finally, she decided. Now, memorize constituit as meaning she decided. It's actually very common. It's going to come up a lot when we are studying both Caesar and Virgil. What did she decide to do? Constituit completes its action with an infinitive. Finally, she decided to desert Salvius. She no longer has a spes firma, and so she's decided she's not going to be a companion of his fortune. Denique media nocte e mariti cubiculo egressa, domum patris sui rediit. At last, denique. Media nocte, okay? These are ablatives. This is an ablative of time, okay? So in the middle of the night, okay. Egressa is the past participle of the deponent verb egredior. You know it's deponent because this form here in the dictionary entry ends with an OR, okay? Now, it's an A because Rufilla is feminine, okay? The dictionary might give you this masculine form, but she's feminine, so egressa. The past participle of a deponent verb is active, okay? So having left, okay? Egressa, having left. Now, it takes this preposition, the thing she's leaving, it takes the preposition a, which means out of, but it would be an over translation to say having left out of the bedroom, okay? Now, A is actually modifying cubiculo. This is an ablative. The preposition a takes an ablative. The genitive, in other words, the bedroom of her husband, mariti, genitive singular here, it's not uncommon for the genitive to be placed between the preposition here and the noun that it is describing. So, having left the bedroom of her husband, what did she do? Rediit. She returned. Where did she return? To the house. Now, when you have a word like domum, okay, you don't need to use ad, okay? You could say ad domum, which means to the house, but there are a handful of words that don't have to use ad. This is what's known basically as a locative type form, okay? So, ad domum, understood. She returned to the house of whom? Genitive singulars, patris sui, to the house of her father. Okay, so Rufilla has left Salvius, and I suppose this is going to make Salvius even more depressed. Amici salvium hortabantur ut animo firmo defensionem postridie renovaret. His friends, what were they doing? Hortabantur. This is a deponent verb. Again, you know that because of the OR. So this passive ending, we still translate it actively. They were urging. His friends were urging Salvius. They were urging him. Now, what they were urging him to do is going to be expressed with an ut clause. Okay, ut. So that, in order that, and an imperfect subjunctive verb here. Okay, the imperfect subjunctive uses the infinitive form. Okay, renovare would mean to renew, and you put just endings on it. So renovaret, that he might renew. That he might renew, we need an object, defensionem, wild guess, that he might renew his defense, meaning his legal defense. Okay, when he should renew it? The following day. Okay, so the court case is going to resume. Salvius is getting depressed that he's about to be declared guilty, but friends were urging Salvius that he might renew his defense the following day. Animo firmo. Okay, these are ablatives. Ablative of means or manner, meaning this is the means or manner with which he is urged to renew his defense, with a firm spirit. Now, if you were to turn this into more comprehensible English, you might even just say something like that he would take up again his defense with optimism, okay, like with a firm spirit. We might want to translate that as optimism. Salvius autem respondit nullam spem manere. Salvius, however, responded. Okay, now remember the sequence of tenses. Okay, this is a present tense infinitive, but this is a perfect tense verb. Okay, so this is going to be an indirect statement, and this is going to be a case where, because responded is perfect tense, we're going to translate this present tense infinitive as if it were imperfect. Salvius, however, responded that no hope was remaining. Cum ad vesperas sceret Salvius aliis servis pecuniam, aliis libertatem dedit. Cum ad vesperas sceret, when it was becoming evening. Okay, so this is an imperfect subjunctive. It's subjunctive because we use subjunctive after cum. Cum here means when. So when it was becoming evening, what did Salvius do? Salvius dedit. Now, this dedit here is going to have two direct objects in the accusative, okay? And then it's going to have dative complements, okay? Gave something to people. And you're going to understand the verb dedit as occurring twice in both of these clauses. So he gave aliis servis pecuniam. he gave money to some slaves, and now we're going to understand dedit again, Salvius, and he gave libertatem, freedom to others. Deinde mortem sibi consciscere paravit. Then he prepared. Okay, deinde, then, run to the end for your verb. Then he prepared. What did he prepare? He prepared consciscere, to inflict, and the direct object of consciscere, mortem, death, upon himself, sibi. Okay, so what does it mean he prepared to inflict death upon himself? It means he prepared to kill himself. Veneno uti non potuit, nam corpus iam diu antidotis muniebatur. He could not. Now, there's no stated subject, okay, so we assume the subject of the previous sentence. It's Salvius, and so we use the pronoun he. What he could not do is expressed with an infinitive. What he could not do was use. Uti is the infinitive of utor, the deponent verb to use. Now, this is a unique verb in that it takes an ablative as its object. Okay, so veneno is ablative, and the reason it's ablative is uti takes an ablative object. Okay, so he could not use poison. Here's why he couldn't use poison. Nam corpus, for his body, iam diu, already for a long time. Muniebatur, this is a passive verb. Now, literally, it means to protect, okay? His body was being protected. Now, in this context, however, because what it was being protected by was antidotes, antidotis, this is the ablative plural here, okay? So in this contextual translation, I'm saying his body already for a long time was being immunized by antidotes. Now, this is also a window into just how twisted Salvius is, okay? To think that he actually goes to the trouble of constantly consuming antidotes to various poisons because he's worried about somebody trying to poison him to death, okay? And now here in this moment, he's thinking he might like to kill himself, but poison is not an option because after all, his body for a long time was being immunized by antidotes. So what's Salvius going to do instead? Here's the answer. Constituit ergo venas pugione incidere. He decided, therefore, okay, so remember we talked about how important it is just to memorize constituit, decided. It's a very common verb. You'll see it a lot. He decided, therefore, to do what? Incidere, to cut open. What did he decide to cut open? Here's our feminine accusative plural object. He decided to cut open his veins. What did he decide to cut open his veins with? Pugione. This is an ablative expressing that with or by something, by means of, with a dagger. Quo facto in balneum in latus mox exanimatus est. Okay, so we start with this little mini ablative absolute. Quo facto literally translates into with which understood thing having been done. Okay, now with which thing having been done, we're going to convert this into a more sensible English translation after he did that. Okay, so meaning after he cut open his veins with a dagger, what happened next? Mox, soon. Now, in latus est, together, are working together to be the passive of the verb inferro. It's an extremely irregular verb. Ferro, the present tense. Tuli is the past tense, and latus is the past participle. So, in latus est was carried, understood into something. Okay? So, soon he was carried, but he's described as ex animatus, as he was soon carried, unconscious. Okay? He was soon carried unconscious where? In balneum. into the bathtub. Okay, so the idea is here, he's cut open his veins. He had probably directed some slaves to carry him into the bathtub after he did this, so that, you see, because he's in the warm water, there's no chance that his body is going to coagulate, and so his plan is to bleed out and die. In the next video, we will see whether or not this plan of his succeeds.